Greetings, this is Ty Brown with Athletic Director U here at the 2022 NACDA Convention. Happy to be back on ground in person to talk with people. I'm joined by Peter Roby. Peter Roby is just wrapping up his tenure as interim athletic director at Dartmouth. Greetings, Peter. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Ty. Nice to be here.
Good to be here too. Your credentials, I mean, you spent 11 years as an athletics director at Northeastern, right? You were there for 16 years.
Correct.
Coach ball for, how long you said?
12 years.
11, 12 years,
yep.
Coach ball. Did some work outside of college athletics, but tied to sport a little bit.
Yep.
You also serve on the night commission. So there's a wealth of experience and credentials to talk to us here at Athletic Director U. The reason I had you on, I specifically want to talk about on college campuses around the country. I don't know if everybody understands that athletics is a very important aspect of the academic mission of each respective institution, right? Sometimes faculty and staff don't understand that, right? They see the money that's being poured into it, but there's an importance to athletics being part of the academic mission, especially when you have a president who believes that and actually makes the athletics director part of their senior staff so they can do those things. Talk to me a little bit about your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is something that people have been slow to appreciate, and it's why those of us that are in collegiate athletics have to be a spokesperson for the things that people learn going through the process, the journey, the personal development that happens from the time you enter a college campus as an 18-year-old freshman.
Right.
And through those 4 or 5 years where you're there as a student, but also participating in athletics. And so many valuable lessons can be learned when it's done right. And that's an important qualifier, because not everybody's doing it right. But when it's done right, where academics is emphasized as the first and foremost priority, and personal growth and development is something that staff and coaches are committed to, then it can be transformational, like it was for me. My whole reason for wanting to go into coaching out of college was because I had a college coach who really saw himself as an educator, who was trying to help us learn and become better people through our pursuit of basketball at Dartmouth College. And it inspired me so much that I wanted to go into coaching, because I wanted to do that for other people. And it's what also has motivated me to want to be an athletic director, because now I could coach the coaches to try to make that same experience happen for other students like it happened for me. And there's no doubt. You hear people in corporate America talking about how they like recruiting former college athletes because of the things that they bring to the table. Their toughness, their resilience, their organizational skills, their communication skills, their ability to deal with failure. And all of those things make people effective in the roles that they have in corporate America or whatever profession they choose. And they oftentimes become leaders in the organization because they've had to be leaders on the court or on the ice or on the track.
If you allow me, I wonder about if you're talking to a professor and that argument is made and they're like, well, you know what, a lot of our graduates who didn't do college athletics also become leaders in corporate America. So help me understand why that makes athletics necessary on campus, right? Because there are naysayers who make those kind of arguments.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Well, if we're committed to a diverse student population where we value difference, then part of the difference that athletes bring is how they've gotten to where they are and what kinds of qualities they bring to it, and what they contribute in the classroom, in the discussions, in the study groups, their life experience. And so we can't say on one hand that we value a diverse student population, on the other hand, dismiss the fact that we have students that have a diverse background in sport. That's not fair. It's inconsistent. And so the more that we can get people to appreciate what students that participate in athletics bring to the campus community, then the more appreciative they'll be. One of the things that I've started talking to the folks at Dartmouth College about, whether it's the Board of Trustees or members of the President's Senior Leadership Group, or faculty members and others, is alumni and donors, is how special students have to be to gain admission to a school like a Dartmouth College, but play athletics at the Division I level.
Right.
And so somewhere between 35 and 40 million kids participate in youth sports in America between the ages of 5 and 18. And only 5% of those will ever play that sport in college. And only 2% will ever play at the Division I level. But then when you start adding on the requirements academically to a school like a Dartmouth College, that 2% shrinks pretty quickly. And it's very rarefied air that you're talking about that can gain admission and also play at the Division I level. So I try to make sure that people understand that when you're talking about excellence and who you're recruiting to go to school there and who you're admitting into the applicant pool, that the athletes need to be appreciated for the excellence that they represent, just like the students that could potentially be a potential Phi Beta Kappa. And so that's the conversation that I want to try to keep promoting because I think it's fair.
Yeah. Thinking about your time at Northeastern, and you mentioned what you're doing at Dartmouth, the argument that you are bringing a diverse population is one that I believe in terms of student athletes in the conversation, in the academic conversations in classrooms and participating in activities on campus and those types of things. I wonder if there are examples of engagement from the community, constituency, maybe starting in athletics and then spilling over into the rest of campus. And that engagement probably wouldn't have happened if athletics wasn't there. You have any examples of something like that?
Well, one example from Northeastern was Kendall Coyne,
okay,
who is one of the best women's ice hockey players in the world. And she was coming out of a New England prep school, and she once she got to Northeastern, she came in as a very shy, quiet woman who was all about her hockey and maybe not as assertive as she would become. But she wanted to excel in everything she did. That was just in her makeup. Well, she ends up graduating with honors from Northeastern. While she was playing in the Olympic Games, she had to participate academically. She had to she had to get her work done ahead of time. She did everything that she needed to do as a student, and then went on and represented her country in the Olympic Games and won a silver medal. And since that time, she's participated in a couple of other Olympics and won a gold medal in the past Olympiad. But she's an example of somebody that refused to compromise. She wanted to be great at everything she did. And she was a great role model for all the other women that she competed with. And she's continued to be a role model on an international stage. And she's been an inspiration to a lot of people at Northeastern, including our faculty who came to appreciate her ability to balance all that, to compete at a high level, to not ask for, to not make any excuses academically, to do whatever the faculty needed her to do to satisfy her requirements. And, it's just one of the many examples that we had and that I've experienced. One of the qualities that I talk about is resilience and why that's so important, especially in this day and age, because people have had to deal with a lot. And our student athletes have gone through a lot and have had to show a lot of resilience. There was a woman that was playing on our women's soccer team, and she was a goalie. We were playing Boston College. We were winning that game 1-0, and we hadn't beaten Boston College in a long time. And we were playing at home. Crowd was big. We had played very well, and we had seconds left. They get a ball chipped into our area, and she kind of loses the handle on the ball, and it goes in the net, and now we're tied, and we lose in overtime. And she was devastated. And I remember seeing her in the athletics complex the next day or so after the weekend, and I gave her one of these, come see me. She walked into my office, and I checked in with her, and I asked her how she was doing, and I gave her a big hug, and I told her to keep her chin up because her teammates were going to need her, and she had to learn from it because she was going to have another opportunity to help her team win. And sure enough, they go and win the CAA championship at Northeastern, the conference that we played in, and they go to the NCAA tournament. And after the game, I'm standing on the field, and I look at her, and she's got this big grin on her face, and she looks at me, and we knew what we were with both thinking. You know, it's like, this is why you had to stay in the moment and be resilient and not get down on yourself. And there's a lesson there to learn for the rest of your life. Is that just because you fail one time doesn't mean you're a failure.
Right.
It just means that you have to learn from it and do it better next time.
Yeah.
And she came to really appreciate that. And that's the value of athletics participation that you don't necessarily get just as a regular student or in other parts of your life. And so we have this competitive advantage from going through all that we go through in athletics that we can bring to other parts of our life. If we're aware of it, if we're thoughtful about it, and we use it to our advantage as we are going through it.
Yeah, which is important. Think about the Olympic story you said. You think about faculty celebrating that person and that person being a celebrated on-campus individual representing the school. Now, there are probably a whole lot of people who weren't student athletes who have been through things and overcome things and accomplished a lot of things.
Right.
But they don't get the press and the publicity for the school that somebody who was a student athlete gets for the school. And it's probably a wonderful thing when you were the athletics director there to see that the faculty embraces this representation of our university from athletics.
Yeah, and we wanted to make sure that we always try to represent ourselves in a way that would make everybody proud of us. And we would talk to the students about that when they first got to Northeastern or when they first got to Dartmouth, that this is bigger than you. It's about your team, your family, the institution, the athletic department, all the thousands of alums that are out there that care deeply about the institution. We need to find ways to make them proud. And so the way in which we go about doing this is important. And the way we react when we lose and the way we react with grace when we win is all important because we're representing more than ourselves. And when we go in the classroom, we compete, we're representing the rest of the athletic department. And we can't not appreciate that. And that's that selflessness that we learn from competing in athletics that we hope will carry over into our family life, into our business life, and other parts of our experiences. You know, so much of what goes on in higher education now, you hear more and more people in academia talking about the importance of experiential learning. They want you to take what you learn in the classroom and apply it to real world situations so that you can better contextualize what you're learning in the classroom. It makes more sense. It has more resonance. And so what's more of an example of experiential learning than athletics? You work together on a common goal. You either succeed together or you fail together, and then you learn from it and you get back at it the next day. And there's this constant feedback loop from watching film or going to practice or talking to your coaches, breaking down the games or whatever. And, you know, one of the differences with that experiential learning in athletics that differs from those general students is that you're not on the stage. You're not being watched by the public. You're not being scrutinized by the media, so that when you fail, there's only a few people that know you failed. And it's not a public failure, if you will, quote unquote. So you fail in front of people. You feel like you let your teammates down. You feel like you let your institution down. And there's that kind of pressure and responsibility and that burden is what makes it a more special opportunity to learn about and learn from than just the general student population.
It creates that resilience. I had to, working at the Football Coaches Association, I had to create a definition of accountability when I was addressing coaches because there wasn't one in the dictionary that fit. And it's the responsibilities of the individual for the actions of the whole and the responsibility of the whole for the actions of the individual, right?
Love that.
And I think that's important in terms of what you're saying and all the things you say when you talk about accountability for the team, for the department, for the university as a whole. I want to ask you a little bit about Dartmouth being there as an interim. You come in, you said 16 months, I believe you said there. And when you come in that kind of role and you know you're there for a finite period, you kind of want to if there are problems to solve, get things to a point to where whoever comes in can take the ball and run with it as much as you can.
For sure.
Talk to me a little bit about that at Dartmouth in terms of what you tried to accomplish in this time that you're there as an intern.
Yeah, no, it was absolutely about that because they were going through a lot. We had settled the Title IX suit, and coming in, we were going to go through a series of internal reviews to look at what was going on, how we were doing things, and then we were going to have to create a gender equity plan that would get implemented over the next number of years. And so we knew that at the end of my tenure, we were going to have a plan that could serve as a roadmap for whoever came next. That would be an opportunity to make the experience better for the students, the coaches and staff, and make it better for the institution at the end of the day. So tough set of circumstances, but my sense was that even though it was not the best way to get to it, if we could get to it and do it right, it would make it better for everybody going forward. And so that was the attitude we brought every day. And just the fact that the staff and the students and the coaches were coming off something as traumatic as that. There was a discontinuation of 5 sports that kind of was the catalyst for the suit in the first place, and then the reinstatement of those 5 teams. There was a lot that people had gone through, a lot of disruption, a lot of uncertainty and instability. And then lay on top of that all the COVID issues, not having had seasons for, in some sports, for two seasons. There was just a lot that people had gone through. So we had to rebuild trust. We had to rebuild relationships. We had to rebuild some morale. And we had to really focus on the culture. All for the benefit of the students and the staff. And so communication was key. Being consistent about that, being accessible, committing to development of the staff and the coaches, as well as what was in the best interest of students, getting them back playing. So there was a lot that we did. I'm really proud of all the staff that stepped up and helped me. And we worked well together, and I think we've left it in a better place as we transition.
I think that's excellent. I'll ask this last question, and then we'll wrap specifically about the work you do on the Knight Commission. Right. Talk to us a little bit about the work you do. Why you chose to be involved in that Knight Commission.
Well, the Knight Commission's mission is really to recommend reform measures that will be in the best interest of students, their health, safety, and their education. And so that really resonated with me because that's the whole reason why I wanted to be a college basketball coach. It's why I wanted to be an administrator to help make this experience as good and as positive a situation as we could. And so the Knight Commission is a independent entity with no real skin in the game we have no agenda other than trying to do what's in the best interest of students and recommending those things that we think will be best. And I'm proud of the work that we've done because we've made some really bold suggestions about the separation of FBS football from the rest of the NCAA so it can be managed and led independently. We've made recommendations about financial modeling, about how much of the money should go towards the health, safety, and benefit and education of students, and not necessarily just to coaching salaries and the arms escalation of facilities. So I'm really proud of the work that we've done. We've made recommendations around racial equity and hiring and what's in the best interest of students of color and in Black students in particular. So we've done a lot. We feel like we still have work to do, and a lot of what we've started to recommend has gotten a lot of traction by the media and actually by practitioners now. And we hope that it will serve as a catalyst for the types of change that is in the best interest of the membership, of the students that participate in athletics, and ultimately in the college model.
Right. Yeah. I think that's interesting. That's probably right down your alley in terms of a passion, right?
Yeah, for sure. I'm like a kid in a candy store.
Yeah. Well, this has been an excellent conversation. I really appreciate you joining us here on Athletic Director.
Yeah, thanks, Ty. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. That was Peter Roby. Peter is currently the outgoing interim athletics director at Dartmouth and served a long time in college athletics as a coach and as an administrator. And of course, I am Ty Brown with Athletic Director U. And keep in mind, the role of a leader is to create and maintain an environment that people want to be a part of. And as always, be better tomorrow than you are today.